In our first year, I did about 300. Second year, we doubled that. It was like 750, 800. Then we doubled that again to about 1.5. One of the big things for us is speed of delivery. So we are going to book your quote while you're there, and we are going to be out Monday, Tuesday.
Wow.
When my competitors are trying to book their quotes on Tuesday, I'll already be out there quoting. Getting yourself back up against the wall where you've got to make it happen, and you've got to do it. I think that's probably why I've got to, at least what we've got to so far. Most people don't know as much as you think they do. Once you start working out problems and you realise you can work out harder problems, you just keep sort of solving them. You look after your staff, they look after you. I don't think it's rocket science.
Checking in with Graeme from Shadeland today. Let's get straight into it, mate. Tell the people out there what it is that you guys do, where you're based, and the problems that you solve in the marketplace.
Yeah, mate. So we're based in mighty Northland. So we've got a branch in Whangarei and a branch in Kirikiri. And we offer a range of shade and shelter solutions to the residential and I guess what we call the commercial market, which is schools and early childcare centres, restaurants, cafes, etc. So anything from pergolas and outdoor rooms to shade sails and outdoor blinds and bits and pieces. And that sort of mixes up depending whether we're in the school market or residential. But yeah, covering the bases there.
So a lot of those schools, they still don't have shading and they're realising that they need to, or it needs to be repaired. I would have thought most schools would sort of have it, but if I think back to some of the schools I went to, probably not.
Yeah, a real mixed bag, to be fair.
Yeah.
So some of it's maintenance work, repairing, replacing what was there. School's growing, so, needing more shade and needing new playgrounds, things like that. The early childcare centre space is definitely growing, so a lot of that is new work. So, yeah, mix of maintenance and new work sort of depending on the space.
Because I'd imagine the kids want to play outside, and Northland probably get more sunshine hours than you do rain, right?
Normally, winterless North for meant to be. I don't know if you asked anyone up there in the last 12 months if they'd agree with that, but yeah, definitely warm up there. Definitely, safety space in terms of skin cancer and things like that, and obviously a lot more knowledge in that space coming through, and getting kids protected earlier and making sure they have got safe spaces to play and move around.
I think it's a good example of, a business that, no offense, but it's not exactly sexy. It's a bit like accounting, but these are good, solid businesses in New Zealand that there is still high demand for, and done well, you can do well from it, right?
Yeah, we like to think we're pretty sexy, I think, Shadeland, but no, it is. And it's not the most sexy, like I say, it's not tech or something super necessarily exciting on everyone's mindphones, but it's a practical product. We offer a solution, for a problem that people face, whether that's at home, school, or work. Restaurants, we add space. Schools, we create safe play spaces. At homes, we can add space, or really, we get into some sort of fancy, really nice outdoor areas. So it's a practical solution. People need it. It sells, and people need our product, I guess.
Well, I suppose they've invested, if it's resi, they've invested a lot of money into their property. They want to be able to enjoy it. And if you're getting smashed by the sun, for instance, then you can't. So this then allows them to enjoy their investment a lot more.
Oh, 100%. Winterless North, we want to be outside enjoying it. I suppose most New Zealanders like that, we've got barbecue culture of being outside, but often in Northland anyway, we're too hot in summer and then often too wet in winter. So, outdoor rooms out there really taken off. So we've got a couple of pergola systems, wrap some blinds around that. You've got a whole extra space, an affordable extra space that you can entertain in and enjoy for sure.
So talk us through for those listening. So how does that work? So you've got that cover above, and then you can go like around as well.
Yeah. So might be like out of a kitchen or a dining area. We'll often attach the house and then build sort of what we call our glazed roof, which is a product with a solid polycarbonate sheet, and then that lets the light through but blocks all your water and blocks all your UV out. And then we've got sort of outdoor roller blinds, so a couple of different types of blinds, and that would, we can add 30 squares to a house without a need for consent or anything like that. So it's quite a bit of space, particularly probably for Aucklanders.
Yeah, I was going to say, mate, could you chuck a couple of bunk beds in there and rent them out?
Yeah, there's a whole other room, so there you go.
Nice. Yeah. What's the split, do you think, between resi and commercial that you're seeing?
Yeah, so probably the commercial market's what we've been trying to grow in recent years. Definitely part of our 90-day plan was growing that commercial market. So I think at the moment we'd be looking at about 70-30, and we'd 70% residential, that is, and 30% commercial. And that sort of commercial for us is restaurants, cafes, like I said, in the education space. Yeah. And we'd like to grow that more ideally over the next few years to keep growing that commercial side.
So those are the bigger clients that are doing like bigger volumes or larger area sizes? Yeah,
definitely larger projects fall into that space, but probably the best bit for us is like the return. So I guess like a lot of trades, the residential space isn't necessarily a return market. You know, if we do our job and we do it well, we're probably not going to get another job out of it unless they've got another space or that, but that's not all that common. So the great thing with our commercial spaces, we've got the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance, the sort of yearly returns. So trying to get some of our return business, so we know we've got things further down the pipeline ahead of us, rather than doing a good job once and sort of smiling and waving goodbye.
Well, it's 2026, and I was just reviewing some client planning pre-work for a 90-day session, and it kept coming up, AI agents, AI this, AI, and I was thinking, okay, the business that they're running, I don't know if they need to be dabbling in that yet, but to grow that commercial side, like, what are the things that you're doing or going to be doing to increase that weighting more to the commercial side?
Yeah, I suppose like we've got a big digital presence, but we find that doesn't work as well on the commercial side or the education side. We've tried all sorts. I think that's part of it. We've thrown the book at it,
Nice.
and tried a whole lot of things. We definitely have our Google Ads, our social media, and that's big for our residential markets, and a little bit of we get a little bit of growth for the commercial side there, but with the commercial, whether that's restaurants or cafes or education hours, it's pretty similar. Different relationships, but it just comes down to relationships. So we're cold calling, we're getting out there, we're knocking on doors, we're introducing ourselves. So whether it's myself or my sales reps, and we'll sort of cold email every education facility or every cafe and restaurant, and we'll drop in, buy a coffee, have a yarn, introduce ourselves, drop business cards off. And that's, to be honest, that's where we've got the most growth. We do get inquiries through the website and things like that. But it's definitely that commercial space has been the getting out there and getting in front of people and building trust, I guess.
So you're going to them rather than them coming to you in the bulk of the wins?
Yeah, through the bulk of the wins, yeah. It's always nice when they come to us.
It must be like, oh, yeah, we've got an inquiry.
Yeah, but definitely more on that space. It's just getting out there and getting in front of people. And I think we were talking about it earlier, like a lot of it can take a couple of years. So, like we're closing some sort of commercial clients now that we might have dropped in on a year or two ago and started getting a name there, or we picked up a little bit of work, but not as much as we wanted. And so, yeah, some of that's just taking time. And it's, as we've grown, like we're a pretty young business, it seems to start to snowball, which is ideal. We'll take that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people would struggle with actually knocking on the door, making that call, dropping off the business card, doing that cold email. Any insights or advice of what you guys do that makes it a bit easier?
Yeah, like it is. I think I'll be completely honest. I don't find it as uncomfortable, and I know other people do. I've done that with with some of our sales reps, where that's definitely been a lot more uncomfortable for them, even if they're in that sales space. And it's just, I think a lot of the sales stuff, I suppose, that's given me confidence in doing that is like probably belief in your product. Like I believe we do a good product. I might be a little ego in that, but I like to think I do a better job than a lot of the other competitors, or if not better, at least equal, for the guys I respect. So I back our product. I back my installers. Like I know I've got great installers that do a good job. If you believe in what you're doing, believe in your product, then I think that's what it takes put a lot of that to rest. And I know it's not that easy for people, but that's probably how I've really, I guess, G myself up for it. That and maybe a bit of G up music in the car on the way. But yeah, I think, like, you're backing yourself, backing your team. Once you've got those processes and you know you can do a good job, then why wouldn't you offer that service? Like particularly, say, the schools, and that's where we've had a lot of schools educations. We've had a lot of headway through the cold calling. It's like, I know I can provide a safer play environment. We do safety audits and things like that. Like I know, like I'm providing a good product. I'm providing a safe product, which should aid them, should protect their kids. Like, why wouldn't I want that out there? So, but in saying that, hasn't come straight away. Like that's taken a while to build that mindset, I suppose.
But it's a really good point, right? Because it's so hard to sell something or speak about it confidently if we don't believe in what we're doing or that it can work, right?
Oh, 100%. And I guess, like a lot of people, want to get into business and want to have an idea, but you've got to have a product that works, and you've got to have a product that you back, not just a product. I think, like I'm very confident and proud of what we do. And that makes it easy, I guess, to make those calls. Rejection is never easy, and and some of them are awkward, and like sometimes if you do that cold calling, you just get like, what are you doing here? But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You just kind of got to move on and take the good with the bad and some of that.
Yeah, well, someone once said to me, if you really back what you're doing and you believe in it and it can genuinely help people, you're almost doing a disservice by not making the phone call, by not running the ads, by not doing the flyer, because you have something that people actually need and it can help them. So by not doing it, you're actually, not doing what the market actually needs you to do. And I think it's a really good way to look at it, because I think for a lot of people, we probably like lack that belief or think that the rejection means that people don't want it. But you know, if you're getting Google reviews and like I always say to clients, like data doesn't lie. If you've got the sales, the market's telling you that it wants what you have. You need to go and tell more people that you exist.
Yeah, and I think commercially for us, particularly, that really hits home. Like the amount of times myself or one of my reps will, you know, visit a cafe and they're like, "Oh, we've needed pints for ages," and you're dealing with business owners that are like flat out. You know, they're like, "Oh, I've been thinking about it for the last 12 months. I keep forgetting." Or yeah, summer rolls around every year and we don't have an umbrella or a shade sale, and every time I just get too busy and I forget to give someone a call.
Yeah.
And that's the same with like maybe education centers. They're like, "Oh, we've been meaning to replace the shade sale," or "Oh, can you quickly check that this is safe?" And it might not be, you know. So a lot of those drop-ins become like jobs really quickly. And those people are actually well, they're not necessarily looking, but they wanted to be looking. They didn't necessarily at the time. They hadn't quite got there. And you're sort of, like you say, you've turned up, you've offered a service that they actually wanted. They need it done. And you're just making it happen for them, really.
Yeah, love it. Are you an established business that needs a solid business plan for the next 12 months? What about accountability every single quarter to make sure that you're taking action and getting closer to your goals? Our 12-month business planning service called The Winning Formula will be perfect for you. Over a half day, we'll map out your next 12 months in business, and then we'll meet quarterly to make sure that you're taking action and getting closer to your goals. This service is great for some external perspective, some challenge, and to help you stay focused on what it is that you really need to be doing in your business, which will help you identify. You can apply for the Winning Formula by booking a call at nextadvisory.nz. The cold calls, is there any insight there that's made it easier as you've gone, or like how do you shape a cold call if you're doing an intro for the first time?
We quite often normally try cold email first,
Nice,
and then follow with a call. I remember reading a book about some marketing, which was like you gotta get like 6 points of contact. So you see like your brand name like 6 times to get trust. I'm pretty sure it's 6. It might be a different number.
Probably 16 now.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But you know, so you like try to get them on the social media, get them maybe if they see a Google or ad, or and then maybe get your email and then get a call. Anyway, the more contact points they see, the more brand trust they're going to have. So we did what has worked quite well with just cold calls is definitely email first, and then either go and just like dropping in with actually dropping in on site, or picking up the phone and calling them as a follow up to that. I think the picking up the cold calls, we haven't really ever done it in a residential space. I don't really know how we would target that necessarily, which might be you might get a lot more rejection, to be fair. But in the commercial space, as long as you're, I think, quick to get to your point, and people are going to tell you fast. They don't want you to be on the phone. You know, I don't probably try a real salesy pitch and try to drag it out. Lead people down a path, and then they just desperately want you off. Like if they've got a good service, they've got a good service provider, and you're not going to win it, I guess you don't waste people's time or make it too hard work for them. But yeah, I try to be real high energy when we do it, and I try not to do too many in a row. So if I'm going to cold call, I'll try to keep it to like a reasonably short amount. I think if you are going to be like, I'm going to do a day of it, you're just either going to start repeating yourself or lose that energy. And also, no one likes getting rejected, no matter how good you are at sales, putting yourself out there. It's not that nice. So I think if you can limit maybe the pain in case you have a bad day. So that's sort of, I've gone about it, I suppose. I might give myself 10 calls and go for it.
So then practically, do you ring and say, hey, it's Graeme here from Shadeland, we sent you an email on such and such. So how do you normally position that?
I'd try to, for us, because a lot of our stuff's seasonal, try to target around season. So like if it was going to be restaurants or cafes, we'd be like, hey, like summer's coming up, just want to check in. Is there anything we could do? Or do you need any maintenance done? Or just thought it might be a good time to check in, see how you guys are going and make sure you've got everything you need.
Right. These are like non-clients at this stage?
Yeah, these have been non-clients. We do the same for clients. Most of our commercial clients we're in pretty close contact with. And for schools, it's quite a maintenance cycle. So like shade sales come down for winter. So we try to get in front of that game, and we'll cold email out like a shopping price list. So this is our price for cleaning, takedowns, like replacement bits, blah, blah, blah. And that seems to work really well. And then we'll try to follow that up with an email. Hey, just checking you guys have got a plan for winter maintenance, and then maybe explaining why that needs to happen. So it's a great idea because you're going to get longer shade sales life. Health and safety, bang, bang, bang. Yeah, that's something we offer. And often we pick up some of that maintenance. We'll pick up other work too. But like, to be honest, a lot of the restaurant and cafes, I try to call in and I'll try to have dinner or lunch and then drop off a card, and you're like, particularly in, I suppose, Northland, whereas, it's a regional business and you're trying to be out there and support other local businesses. And that normally goes really well too. We did some things like during COVID when there was, like during like on some of the lockdowns, and when we had the regional lockdowns, we were and the hospital was struggling. We were buying vouchers and doing giveaways on our social media and that, and buying vouchers to local restaurants to try to support them, but also you're drumming up that you scratch our back, we scratch yours for sure.
Yeah, nice.
So all that stuff helped too.
Yeah. All these little things that you've done along the way, and they're all compounding, or, like you said before, they start to happen for you, right? It's a great feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I think, and if you can play the game a bit, like we do some giveaways and that for referrals and things, but we always, I know other people do like Prezi vouchers or other things. We always make sure that's a local restaurant, and that we're hammering where we want to go, or looking after the guys that look after us. So
Nice.
yeah.
Going back to belief, I think one thing that we often bang on about is collecting Google reviews, but even just seeking feedback from your clients, because I think it builds that belief. And so, we were talking about belief from an angle of just believing in your product, but you've got to collect that data. And walking in to do this pod, I had an audio from a client who's done 90 days a long time ago now, and they were saying how they've made their money back like so many times over from the things that they learned through that. And I think it's just come to me as that's a good data point for me to then have more belief in what I'm doing, to then make me more confident when I am, let's say, selling it. Well, really, I'm just putting the solution in front of the right types of people, and if they choose to do it, like, great. But I think it's a subtle change away from, I feel like I'm selling my thing, whether that's a good or a service. And I feel like you slowly, like, you don't care about the fact that you think that you're selling or cold calling anymore. You're basically saying, I know you've got this problem, we've got the solution. It's almost wrong of me not to put it in front of you.
Yeah, I think that word solution, that's like real big, you have, like, if you have a solution and you're selling a solution, which is what most products or services are, right, for something, then you have the solution to the client's problem, and they either have that problem or they don't.
Yeah.
Like someone has a residual problem, they have two pergolas already, they don't need us, necessarily, or they've got shade solution. But if they don't have that and they have a space they need, then we do have the solution, and we back our product, and I back at my team's ability to do it. So yes, it is almost wrong of us not to put it there. And I'm competitive as hell, so I like to back my product against my competitors. And we've got some good competitors in the industry and some bad ones, but I know we're at the top end, so I'm backing myself against any other option they've got as well. So.
Well, speaking of this industry, how did you get into it?
Yeah, it's a pretty niche industry to get into, and wasn't my background at all. So I got an ag science degree from Old Lincoln University. So I was you grew up on farms, off and on farms, sheep, beef, and dairy farms, and then working on those as a teenager. We grew up in town, but I was pretty farming mad, and then worked for a company called Dairy NZ, and then was working at Fonterra. So I was getting into sort of corporate world in Fonterra. I was working basically as a farm consultant without diving too much into it, and specialised in animal welfare actually. And then one of my best friends, a couple, they owned a business called Canvasland down in Levin, and I was getting a bit unhappy and itchy feet of what I was doing. And Daniel, he's now an ex-business partner, but he was sort of saying, well, hey, do you want to come be operations manager down the line, or do you want to come be involved in Canvasland? And we sort of had a bit of a yarn about it.
In Levin?
In Levin, yeah, town of Levin, so Company Coast, that's where I'm from. And I decided I didn't want to leave the mighty Northland. I wasn't quite prepared to cold winters and lose the sun on the surf. So, we sort of went, it was kind of a conversation back and forth, and he came back to me one day and said, we're keen to set something up there. We could do something together, which was pretty left field compared to what I was doing. So, long story short, packed up at Fonterra, moved down to live in. Daniel and Tamer, I don't think there's many friends that you do this with. They had I think the youngest was about 4 or 5 months old. So I moved in, they got 3 kids, that was the youngest. And so I moved into the outhouse and did this time down there. So I sort of did 6 months working at Canvasland. I've got a pretty practical background. The folks own a sheet metal engineering business. I've been in and out of engineering workshops and farms most of my life. And then, got on the tools, got my head around it, and then real bootleg start from scratch. So borrowed a van from Canvasland, borrowed some tools, and I was at one point driving from Levin to Whangarei to do quotes. So I leave Levin at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, get up, do quotes for a couple of days, then drove back to Levin, work at Canvasland, and then would come back up north and install the job. So there was just a small bit while we got off the ground.
To interject, so you were living in Levin, but and they were running that similar business down there.
Yeah.
But wanting to grow, you wanted to be in Northland longer term, so you thought, right, well, I'll go up there and try and start something and just make it happen.
Yeah.
Shit,
And
that's
so
a hell of a drive.
yeah, it's a big drive. Yeah, I just recently did it again, and I couldn't believe it. I just did it. And so yeah, the start was a bit of back and forth. So I was incredibly lucky. Daniel and Tamer, my mates, that they just, I guess they took a massive gamble on me.
Yeah.
And we've been real close for years. But yeah, it was a pretty big gamble. And so we're 50-50 to start with. And I was sort of running the day to day, and then yeah, sort of just grew it from there. So yeah, from a borrowed van to where we are now. But yeah, so eventually gave the van back, bought another van, and then yeah, started bringing on staff and things from there. So
What would the team size be now?
so now so sort of the journey was, I think we're coming up, this will be our end of our 5th financial year now. And so
In Northland.
yeah, and so yeah, Canvas has been around for a long time. So they bought an existing business and grown that, have done really well down there. And so originally we had a branch of Whangarei, and then we grew that. So that now has a sales manager. We've just implemented some branch managers, so we got a bit of restructure. So got a branch manager and 3 installers in Whangarei, so 5 there. And then about coming up 3 years ago, we bought a business called Kerry Canvas Shades, which has been awesome for us. So we bought it off really well. The old owner's done a really good job, and they've got an excellent name. And we rebranded that, bought that under Shadeland brand as well. And that operates around Kitty. So they've got 2 installers and a branch manager up there now, which is pretty cool too. We've had a guy who was our lead installer when we took it over, and he stayed on. He became a sales manager, and now he's the branch manager. So it's been cool to have a journey with him too. So yeah.
So you've basically built a business from scratch, and then whilst doing that, you've then bought a business.
Yep.
And then you continued to expand and build a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I think the more that it goes, the more you just realize everyone's learning on the fly. I had this idea when I started that people had it sorted, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything, was probably true, but I think you realize more and more that most people don't know as much as you think they do. And that once you start working out problems and you realize you can work out harder problems, you just keep sort of solving them.
Are you happy to say, or open to say, roughly like turnover wise what you guys are doing, just to give people listening a bit of context?
Yeah, so I think in our first year I did about 300. Second year we doubled that. It was like 750, 800. Then we doubled that again to about 1.5.
Yeah.
We've added about $500,000 each year. So we'll go over 2.5 this year, and then the goal is to be well into the 3 mil next year. Yeah.
So you've got to go out there and you've got to sell $2.5 million worth of shades plus repairs, and do that and keep doing it consistently, and you've been managing to do it.
Yeah. Something, like
because a lot of people hear, oh, Northland, the economy's tight, and everyone's broke up there, all this bullshit, right? When really it's actually a thriving community and region.
Yeah, and I'm
like to a degree,
Before I left Old Lincoln to go to Northland, I think I've been up there once. My brother had moved up there, which was a bit random. So it was one of the appeals of moving up there, was to hang out with my brother and his family. And so I don't know much about Northland, but yeah, I think it can be a bit of the forgotten part of New Zealand at times. And man, there's some big businesses, like we've got big ports. There's a lot going on in Northland. There's some awesome businesses, and I think it's still cool, particularly even more the far north. Like I love getting up into Kitty, and up there it's a real a bit more of that regional feel, and people look after each other, and they want to support local businesses that employ local people. So you get a bit of that, maybe a little bit old school mentality, you might call it. And it's I really enjoy that, and there's a lot of big businesses and business doing cool things in Northland, and I think it can get overlooked at times.
Good on you. And you've obviously been looking after yourself through this journey in terms of fitness and stuff. I think you recently did a high rocks competition.
Yeah, survived. That might be the way to survival might be the best way to describe our high rocks. But I wouldn't say I was at the upper echelon of the competing, but it was cool to train and say. Yeah, I think it's come in seasons. So it's funny, people ask you, should I get in business? Should I do that? Sort of get in a little bit. And it's I haven't always been able to. There's been seasons where it's just been a lot of hard work. There's been 100-hour weeks stacked on that probably weren't that healthy, and can be hard to pull yourself out of that too. There's sort of probably different times where I've done that, maybe dive too hard into work, and it's been out of necessity. Like I need to pay some bills, I need to pay some wages, and I'm seriously screwed if we don't make some stuff happen. And that's just growth, I think. And the way I describe, if someone's to ask me about starting a business, you've got to be committed to eating shit for a period.
Yes.
And that's I took a $100,000 pay cut when I left Fonterra, and that did not get that back for a very long time. So it's not all, I suppose it's not all dandy, but I've found a balance now, and I think I've got a lot of that from you and some of our conversations and things too. If I'm not looking after myself, I can't do all these other things. I can't look after my staff, and it's actually irresponsible, really, I suppose. So but I wouldn't say it's, yeah, I don't think I could sit there and say, oh, it's been like that the whole time. Like there's times where I've just been, headed first or maybe made unhealthy decisions as well.
Well, I think we all do, right? Everyone talks about like balance and all this shit, and oh, great, like great concept, fucking hard to figure it out. Like everyone's got their own version of it, their own definition. Sometimes we think we're balanced, we're actually unbalanced, and then it takes something to happen, and we realize, oh, we've got to, then find a different balance. But I guess that's again what you're saying before. We think everyone's got it figured out, but really, like individually in our own lives and businesses, we're each individually responsible to try and find like our boundaries and what those balances are.
Yeah, I think the wild one I find from like, I used to think I worked pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I did my hours, and I like to think I worked pretty hard at Fonterra and that, and maybe worked harder than some other people around there. But like I didn't work hard compared to what I do now.
Yeah.
And I think the cool thing I found about the business is how much I've had to learn and do and stay on top of. But I work, like people would probably surprise the hours I work if they go, how do you fit anything in? But I think I've learned to be more and more productive, and then you want to do more things. So like I work way more hours than I used to, but I do heaps more in a week outside of that now too.
Yeah.
Like I don't watch TV. I don't do, like, I kind of got a bit of a mindset of like getting stuff done, which I don't think I used to have. And I think the business has kind of made me develop that a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exposes where you're wasting time, or where maybe you weren't wasting time, but how you realize, oh, my time's now more valuable somewhere else, right? Like you're sitting watching a TV show when you're employed, and you're watching the TV show. When you're watching it, when you're a business owner and you know you've got shit to do, you're sitting there going, I know I shouldn't be watching this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, again, you've still got to have balance and relax in that. But when you know that there's shit that you're definitely procrastinating from, you can't really do that for too long in business, because you've got to get back to just actually getting it done eventually, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think, and I guess balance is different for everyone, right? Like I recharge actively. So like if I'm at the gym or I'm out running or doing something like, or fishing or something like that, it's me, I guess, getting my recharge. But I don't know, some people are different. But yeah, I suppose for me, I've found that, it's been, my lifestyle's changed a lot, and I've realized how much I guess I can get done. But it's just funny. I think where my like limit, where I thought my limit was so much higher, and I can do so much more, and I am now. But it's just, that mindset. It's from, I guess it's like, you hear a lot of like, businessy, like guys say, the person you become on that journey. And like, I've got a long way to go on that journey, but the amount of I've changed personally from, I guess, getting into business and learning all those things, it's just huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reflecting, I think this financial year that we're closing out, my tax bill's over 200K, and my goal used to be to make 100 grand worth of income.
Yeah.
I think far out. I used to think so small. But that's probably big thinking for some people. But I think I was trying to make some content about how we can use these things like 100 grand of income or whatever it be, where it's just someone else's idea, and we think that that's big thinking. But business, I think, forces you to expand as a person, and the way that you do things, and test boundaries and test balance and test your own capabilities to then disprove that a lot of the thinking was wrong or too small, to start with, which is, I think is an incredible thing to go through.
Yeah. And I think like it's small business, particularly in New Zealand, like the cool thing about New Zealand is it's still not that hard to start a small business to some degree. Like it might be hard to get off the ground, but the barriers of entry for a lot of industries aren't huge necessarily. And then you just got to work it out.
Yeah.
Like no one's coming to save you. And I think that's one thing that I talk about a lot, like of where I was at Salary, and one of the things that frustrated me in my old role was like, I sort of say you probably get like 70% of your wins, like maybe in a salary role, like you get 70% of the win, and then your manager or your boss or whoever takes the other 30%. But you always only maybe get 60 or 70% of your losses, You make a fuck up, and someone will come save you or bail you out. And for some people, that's the space that they want to be in, and they're comfortable there, and that's where their risk profile suits, and that's great, Fair play, and you've got to understand that. But I used to hate that.
Yeah.
So, and I actually hated the losses more than the wins.
Yeah.
So like if I fucked up or I made a loss, I wanted to wear that. And I really struggled if someone came in to save the day for me or sort of trying to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's just wired that way. And so what I do enjoy about business is you get 100% of the wins and you get 100% of the losses. Like when you own it, it's just all on you.
Yeah, nice.
And you do that for your staff. You do exactly what I was talking about for your staff. But I'd rather be in that space than I guess the other space. And so sometimes that's great because you get in the wins, and sometimes it's not so fun because you're in the losses. But it's on you to work it out, right? And so when you're starting a business and you're trying to work out, what do I need to know about ads or tax or this, or like, who do I talk to about that? And you just got to keep working it out. No one's going to give you the, give you the keys.
Can you point to anything where you like that responsibility? You know, a lot of people don't like responsibility, but it feels like, you know, for you, you actually like that. And I think what I've observed of you over the years too is you actually don't mind when your back gets against the wall. It's almost like, fuck it, righto, we're flicking the switch and let's go.
Yeah. I think I always operate better in that space than when things are going real good.
Yeah.
And I think probably in recent years, it's been a little bit like when things are going good, like it was almost like, shit, where's it going to go wrong? Like you're hearing all this stuff in the media and like, you know, you try not to listen too much to it, but you know, you know that, but people are struggling. So it's like, oh, where's my wall? Back could be against the wall again. But I think, yeah, and I think we've talked about it like actually almost make situations where your back is up against the wall. You know, if you want to grow and you want to do these things, you always need to make a situation where like, right, you got to go now.
Yeah.
And I think I love that. Like, there's been times where that's maybe not been the best for mental health and so forth, but like, like within reason, getting yourself back up against the wall, you've got to make it happen, and you got to do it. Like, yeah, I think that's probably why I've got to at least what we've got to so far, and probably why we'll hopefully keep going forward.
You talked about eating shit before, and like I think once you've done it, I think you then know that you can do it again if you need to, but you can try and limit the period. And I think going back to me diving into some of my earlier numbers, I think it took 4 years to get back above in business. It took 4 years to then get back above my employment income. And, you know, building an accounting practice is a slow grind where you're then adding on a client. Okay, great. But then that's annualizing. You need to get like the next one, then the next one. You can see that it's going to work, but you can see that it's still going to take like a lot of time for the snowball to actually roll. It probably would be much the same for your journey when you got started, and you could see that if you just stay on this path, that the rewards will come. But I think we live in a society now where we want the same employment income the next year, and we want it to happen quickly. In a 3 or 4 year plan, oh fuck that, you know, it should be 3 or 4 months, but that's not really realistic for business. Is there anything for you that like keeps you driven, you know, keeps you in that grind, or when you are in those valleys, if we call it that, or eating shit, where you go, I just need to keep going?
Yeah. Yes, I think like don't get me wrong, like I've got like there's things I want in life and I want to be successful, and that's part of a motivator, but I don't think it's probably enough for me. I think like competition is like a massive driver for me, and probably I won't go too much into it. When we started, we tried to buy a company, and long story short, a guy did pretty dirty on us and screwed us, and we were very deep in negotiations about buying this company, and I'd seen all his books and things, so I knew what he did in a year, and so like I had this thing, I was like, I'm going to do that in 2 years. And I don't know where that number came from, but I was like, screw you.
Yeah.
I can do that in 2 years. And I did. And then it was like, I remember like coming off the other end of that and talking to Daniel, a business part at that time, and I was like, oh, it's a little bit like, what next? So it had been a real like target away in. And it was just a motivator, but like the competition, but it's not always like that. Like there's another, I've got to give them a shout out. There's another company called the Outdoor Room Company, Tim Dow, who's a ex-Taniwha rugby player. And he runs an awesome business, and he's in our industry. But I really love like, and by all accounts from where he's a great dude. So like, it doesn't have to be like trying to bury someone, but I do love that. That competition does drive me. Like I know he has a great operation, and I was striving to be like that too. And we go toe to toe now. So I do like really enjoy that competition, and where that, I think that does drive me, and I enjoyed that part of business. I don't think it doesn't have to be like you're trying to bury the other companies. Like there's enough room for a lot of us to play, but I do quite enjoy that part of it. But so that definitely drives me. But I think that one of the thing when I started Shadeland, one of the biggest things I wanted to do was be able to bring your full self to work, and my staff to be able to bring their full self to work. And I always sort of felt like at Fonterra and some of the places I worked, I could take like 70% of myself to work. But if I ever took my full self to work, I'd probably get myself in trouble. And I wanted like a place where people could do that and staff could do that. So that's been a massive motivator, I think, around like the growth and staff and being able to like look after people, and people like, make the most of their lives and do things in that space. So that's huge for me. And I think that's probably a motivator in terms of like, got to get out of bed in the morning. Like I don't really struggle with that, I think, but that's probably the biggest one behind that, like having staff and being like, it's for them too. Like we're growing something together, and like, we can take you on that journey.
What's it been like building a team? Because that's very different, when it's you in a van and just getting shit done, and you're competitive and you're hungry, and then, okay, now you've got team members. What's that been like? Has it come natural? Has it been hard?
Yeah, interesting. We're actually two different branches and 2 different points at the moment. We're trying to hire in Kerikeri. And then we have hired recently in Whangarei, Sean, my branch manager, the other day said, "Oh, we're really lucky with who we've ended up with."
Yeah.
And I actually stopped them, and I was like, I don't know if we call it luck. At the start, yes, I got lucky with some good employees. Now it's like, no, I've worked over years to get our job ads right. Like there's been refine. I know the people we're looking for. I know who to say no to. That's been through some other highs and stuff too. But we've got like I don't know if you call it a motley crew, but like people like they're just wildly different. Like every one of my crew's wildly different, and we've ended up with such an awesome crew. But you got to work like hard to attract that. Like, and that's on like your job ads and the environment you make and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been really lucky. Like with a lot of crew stayed for a long time, and we've had a few people leave and do other things, but they've been huge for Shadeland. And I do think people enjoy being in something that's growing. And you know, like I think people would quite like that. And I think it is easier. It might be harder as we get bigger. You know, like we've got aspirations for more branches and things. It is easy if you're a boss and you're involved all the time. And now we're sort of moving into this restructure of branches and things like that. I can see that my role's changing, and I've got to rely on like the branch managers to do more of the culture and stuff like that, where I've probably always been able to really lead that high energy and check in with people. And we'll still do that, but it won't necessarily be me. And I can see that's a big mindset change that's coming up for me. I'd have probably waffled there. I don't know if that answers
No,
the
it's
question.
good. Yeah. And I think like it's important because you're then going to another level where you're then running these teams, right? Because I would imagine a competitive bloke like you're not done. You know, I'd imagine that there's more to come.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like we're the next aspiration's out of Northland, so we're coming south. So the big smoke. So there's definitely eyes on. But yeah, and when I start getting that size, it's going to be harder to be checking in with everyone. I think probably the type of person I am, I'll still try to be quite involved with the crew. But what I've got to also learn is like let my branch managers do it, because I do feel that I'm probably a little bit stepping over their toes with it. So just in recent weeks, I've been trying to step that out. And I guess I've got to put systems in place to make sure those people are still getting checked in and our team's still growing. We've still got that cool culture and doing cool things. And
We'll change tact a bit, but the resi space, what would the average age roughly be of a client?
Yeah, we're definitely the upper echelon. So definitely the boomers are good to us.
Nice.
But yeah, so if we were to generalize, older clients with lower mortgages, bit of free cash, but we do definitely get a mix in saying that. So like young families and they're adding space, or young families that entertain a lot and stuff like that. So definitely get a mix, but if I had to generalize, it's probably at the upper end.
Well, something that I'm always banging on about, and I want you to prove me right, but that the baby boomers have the wealth right now. There's data. We know this. They've been here longer. But something that I saw for you that I think changed quite quickly was a lot of them just all of a sudden were keen to spend some money.
Yeah. And you had been banging on about it. But
it finally happened.
It finally happened. Yeah, and it did. Like it was kind of weird. Like you called it, and then it just sort of started happening. I suppose we target it a little bit for sure. And I guess there's a range within that, like we do like a lot of work at a couple of retirement villages and that, which has been probably more that commercial space because you've got to create relationships. And then a lot of maybe the, older generation in their homes that have nothing to do with retirement village, etc. But yeah, I suppose a really obvious sign of that would have been last year was like a tough year for a lot of businesses. And it was really evident who our client base was, and it was that space for sure. Like we weren't getting the young families. We were definitely selling in that space because that's who had money, and interest rate hikes don't affect you if you don't have a huge amount on your mortgage or you don't have a mortgage or so forth. So I think it really highlighted it in that sort of last 12 months or last year.
Yeah. And you went to a home show, right?
Yeah.
What does it cost to go to a home show these days? Because there's again like a risk that you're willing to take. You got tough economy, and they're trying to say, well, spend thousands, I'd imagine, to come to our home show, and you've got to put in time, resource, a stand, in the hope that it's going to lead to something. What does that roughly cost?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like people will go like, well, what's the cost of a site? And the site's bugger all really well. It's $3.5-4 grand, which is not bugger all, but it's bugger all compared to other costs you're going to spend. So we're there for 3 days. So I've got myself and at least 2 sales reps, maybe a manager there for 3 days. So you've got 3 days of salaries gone. We're there for a day setting up because we've obviously got quite a stand that we want to construct. So I'll probably lose 4 installers for a day throwing that stand up, and then that's got to come down. And so it's not easy in terms of like our guys are real good. I'm lucky. Once again, we're lucky with the team. We are. I say it's not luck, but we are lucky with the team we've got, and because we're calling guys in on a Sunday night to take those displays to our home shows and that.
But the fact that they're willing to do that shows the team that you've built, right? Like they
Yeah.
can say, nah, you're fucked.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they absolutely could.
Yeah.
And that's just, you look after your staff, they look after you. I
Mm.
don't think it's rocket science.
Yeah.
I don't like if somebody tells me, oh, you can't get good staff, it just shows like I just think you must be a shit employer. Like, and there's still like
Flip that out.
there's tougher times to get staff for sure. And we've had we've had better staff than others for sure, and like we've lost some good staff mainly to Australia because trades.
Yeah.
They're all buggering off.
Yeah.
But I hate that chat. Like I hear it, and it comes from a particular generation of business owners normally. You can't get to staff. No, there's no point in having staff these days.
People don't want to work anymore.
No, it's like no one wants to work for you.
Yeah.
Like, do you know, like that's the answer. Like, no, my staff work hard, like real hard, and they pull their weight. And you got to balance that. And like we have weeks that blow out at times, and like I'm always amazed by the effort the guys put in. But you can't just demand that every week either. You know, like you've got to be able to balance that. So yeah, like
Okay, so we got set up, we got taken down on a Sunday, and then 3
So,
supporters,
yeah.
and then and so you're probably looking at there's probably 10 to 20 grand investment
Oh, for sure.
realistically.
Yeah, easy. And then like whether depending on what you're doing, like we lean on our suppliers. So but I couldn't do that at the start.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be like, you're gonna give me 10 grand of product to throw up for a display. I'd be like, nah, mate.
Who are you, bro?
Who's selling what? Like, yeah, maybe in a few years, bud.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's things nowadays. I'm
easier.
like, if you're not going to give me it, I'm not going to sell your product. But that's great for me to say now.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I buy myself vegan shoes at year one,
So you went through the valley, right? You ate your shit.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So but yeah, we get their return, mate. Like the home show, we're going to get our return from that for sure.
Yeah. So what did you notice at that home show? Like, what was different? Was it the first time you'd done it?
No, we had done it in other years.
Yeah. What was different about this one? Do you think, like in terms of the convos you were having with people, or the leads, the quality of leads?
It's interesting because it's whether the environment changed or whether we changed, and I think probably a combo. But like we had refined like our site, we refined how we go about it, and we've done like we've just done certain things in the past that we do, like getting your MailChimp up. So like we're trying to get we're doing giveaways and fill out this form, but it actually just like clogged up our site.
Yeah.
So like no one could get into it, and I think it also like people were like they were actually interested. We're like, oh, there's people everywhere. We're out of here.
Yeah, that's right.
So like what I thought was a good idea was actually unintended consequence was actually not working.
Yeah.
So we don't do that anymore. We find other ways to try and build that base. But so like we've refined it. We've refined how we sell about it. Give away all my secrets. But one of the big things for us is speed of delivery. So we are going to book your quote while you're there, and we are going to be out Monday, Tuesday. When my competitors are trying to book their quotes on Tuesday, I'll already be out there quoting. So speed of delivery I found is really important.
So I'm at your stand saying, hey, I'm pretty keen for something, and you're going to have one of your crew at my place within 48 hours.
Yeah, well, I'll try to book you in. Sometimes you get too busy, it's a bit hard on site. But like I'll be like, how's Monday at 9:45?
Yeah.
Like I'll have like a pre-planned bit. So all my sales reps be like, right, I'm going to be in Tikipanga and Whangarei. We're like, no, I'm going to get a bunch of quotes from over the weekend there. I'm going to smash that on Monday. And so I try to book them in as many as we can while we're there. Rather than, and I guess that's like, you've got to be drive like, rather than I've done a big home show. So I'll take Monday off, or I'll give it, I'm going to get the stand down, and we'll take Monday off, and then I'll call all the leads Tuesday after I've had, lunch, because it's going to be a hard list. I'm going to be on the phone all day. It's like, well, man, I've already quoted most trade businesses, we're going to have a wait time. So it's like, hey, we've got a 6-week lead time until we can get our product powder coated, etc., ready to go. But the longer you wait for a quote, the longer that lead time is.
Yeah.
So if they're getting a call from someone saying, oh, we'll be there at the end of next week, and we're Monday the week before, it's like, oh, well, now you've got an 10-week lead time. So there's, like that was a real mindset change So we've got a big one. Like if you put a query on the website, we'll call you on one business day, and they get hit with an email straight away. So we'll call you on one business day, and we'll be out to quote you within 5 business days.
Yeah.
Or you shout dinner.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So they get an email with that. So actually some of that came from, I think it was the Domino's, and they got the app. So tell you where your pizza is. Apparently it's not even true, but it's like your pizza's in the oven. And then that was to calm consumer like anxiety. So you hit the button and you're like, oh, I've ordered like a pizza. And then you're like, when's it going to get here? And they like have all these calls, and also like it was a negative experience for consumers. And
even Uber Eats do that now with, be like, oh, they're preparing your meal. You get a separate notification
Yeah, someone's telling me, I don't know if it's true, that the Domino's one's just like absolute like that's not right. I think once that you know that you can see it on the road, but none of the other stuff actually like is on time. Yeah, it's just made up.
Yeah.
But they had like this, I know, God, I can't remember the facts about it, but it was huge. Like the customer improvement rating was like huge from it. And so I sort of thought, like, how do we apply that to what we do? So like you inquire on the website and you get nothing. And you're just like, oh, well, I'll go apply to like 10 other companies, right? Because I don't even know if they're going to contact me. And trade's notoriously bad for not chasing leads.
Yes.
So bang, straight away you get an email.
Automated email.
Tells you the timeframes.
Yeah.
So you will get called within 1 business day. We will have a quote for you within 5 business days if you're in our area. Here's our area, so you know, answering those facts. And then if not, you choose the spot and we'll buy you a dinner voucher. Yes.
How many times have you had to buy them dinner?
I think twice, because we've just had like technical glitches, or like one time I sent to my sales rep who was in the wrong area, he sent it back to me, and then like we pushed it. So
nice, but at least you honoured it. Like that's the cool thing.
Wow, I reckon if you're going to buy them dinner, they're just about guaranteed to go after that too. It's just like you could like most of the time we've got a bit of banter going with them by that point. Shit, got one past the goalie. Yeah. So
well done.
But that's sort of that was where that idea came from, and then that speed. So and then what we're missing the most, we're trying really hard is to have like contact points once people book the job. So an ideal world would have an app like Domino's. It's like your job's been powder coated. It's like that would be a really cool way of doing it.
And so you quoted a shitload of work off of the back of that, and I remember you saying to me that you noticed there was a change in some of the conversation where people were willing to stop sitting on their hands and get it done at their house.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely why that was probably the massive change last year. So the home show would have been around like October, and I'd say probably just before then through to now, we've had a big change in mindset. It seems so. A lot of people were quoted like 2 years ago going ahead. So like probably in the last 2 years, quite a lot of people are like, I'll just wait one more summer, or I'll just wait for this. I'm just going to wait for the world to calm down, which seems crazy at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think it feels like everything's been on fire for a few years, right? Yes. So like, I think what I took from it was like people were just like over it. They're like, nothing's going to calm down. We're just like frustrated sitting on that money. And it definitely, that generation we keep harping on about, seemed like they're sitting on money. And then they were just like, oh, we're going to spend it. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to do it. So, I don't know if that was at the back of COVID or like some of that mindset or just with everything going on, but it definitely seems like people were just willing to spend again. And I think there's, you're probably going to know more about this than me, but how much people just actually have cash that they're sitting on. So it's like, it's not necessarily there wasn't cash there, it just wasn't getting spent so much.
Yeah, well, I think the 6% term deposit rate locked up so much money, and it just took it off to the sidelines, which is what the official cash rate is designed to do for those who don't have debt, because it's trying to slow down the spending. But I think it was so clear the run up of term deposits, but as that cash came back out, everyone was saying, it seems logical. They're gonna get back into buying rental properties. Oh, they're gonna, they'll start investing and stuff. It's like, no, they're probably gonna spend the money on shit that they wanted to do, but instead they park the money in the term deposit. So we've got to make sure we're in front of them saying hello, like we're here. And I think a good example of that is you guys with that home show, where if you think about, like, no wonder Speed's winning, because they're presenting themselves to an environment. They're paying for a ticket, I'd imagine, to go to the home show.
Yeah, they are.
And so they're basically declaring themselves as a willing buyer. And if they're standing in your store, no matter it's you or someone else, they're basically saying, well, like, we're planning on doing this. They're probably not just wandering around and, collecting some quotes. Some people will, but that's a very intentive type buyer rather than someone who's, just, saw that, maybe we'll just throw in an inquiry. And you're right, like the speed at which you're getting back to match their intent of their purchase is going to be a big factor in whether you get the deal or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like another crazy one I hear of all the time. It's like, oh, we had a company come out and they done the measure out. They never got the quote to us. So
what?
Like, you've done like the hard work. You've paid either yourself or like a rep to get out there. You've done all the hard work. And like, so I've worked really hard, and but like it's been a shed load of work to get our quoting really fast for our sales reps.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just always like, how can we get this faster, more accurate, ideally, but how can we get it faster so that this is not an admin heavy task for you?
Yeah. So, what would like a rough conversion percentage be for you guys, or a close rate on
close rate? So we target 30% plus, and we're pretty good there now. It's definitely wasn't. We targeted 30% for a long time. I've actually just been looking at that going, is that ambitious enough?
Yeah.
Or should I push that up?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're actually hitting that quite a bit now, which is everything, right? Like, it's your sales process, it's your pricing, it's your product, it's getting all that right. Like, there's a whole lot of pieces to that pie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 30%. Now we're pretty around that. Like, we're high 20s to mid 30s sort of month on month. But for a long time it was like 15 to 20, and it was struggling there. And so it's a very sales admin heavy business in terms of having reps on the road. They're doing a lot of work, but aren't necessarily always converting. Yeah.
Because a 20 to 30 is effectively a 50% improvement in your conversion rate, right? So then you need to do less quotes effectively, or you're going to make more sales and therefore keep growing. And I think it's something that a lot of us business owners, like, we forget to stop and look at our sales process and go, you know what, actually, how could this be refined to a degree? But I bet your competitive mindset is probably thinking about that a lot more than others.
I think it's what you talked about earlier with reviews. So when aren't you getting that right? So like, great getting these reviews that say you're kicking ass, and we're all doing our best, every business I know, to make sure we don't get a negative review on Google, because we all know that's a fucking nightmare. So like, keep that out of it. But when things aren't going good, so what does that look like? So like your best, like a referral from a friend or family, like, you know, to somebody, one of their friends or family to buy from us, like we'll close like 70% of them. It's not ridiculous. I don't actually quite know the rate, but like it would be so high because you've got that trust barriers like done. So like that's still the best, you know, the best lead you can get is a referral. But listening to those reviews when it's not going right, it's probably been like the way we've refined that, you know. So try not to take it personally. Like as a business owner, can be like hard at times too, and like, or not just blast off. So like, you're like, it's just ridiculous. Like whatever, like the boys left like, you know, a screw behind or something like that. But you're like, you know, okay, if their kids are ran out, put their foot on that screw, you know, maybe they did have it, you know. So what can we do? So like, it's like, okay, your boys could have cleaned up better. So have they got good vacuums and brooms? Have we gone across that, you know? All those little things add up, you know? So whether it's on site or whether it's the sales reps, like another sales reps under too much pressure and they got too many leads ahead of them, they might rush quotes. And it's like, well, actually, we've had like a lot of conversation about when you're in front of people, and that's the most important thing. Don't worry about quotes in front of you. If you've got too big a load, like, I'll take that off you. But that's learning. Like, that's sort of like loading them up at times and being like, man, our conversion rate's just dying. And they're like, I just got to get around to see everyone, like, shit, and I can't get the quote. And then it's taking me 3 days to get the quote out instead of getting out the next day like we promised. And you're like, oh, right, as a business owner, I've stitched them up, and that's having that impact, you know? So it's constant refinement, I suppose.
I guess it gets trickier too, because then the busier you guys get, or the snowball gets bigger, you're going to get more inquiries. So then you've got to add on more team members effectively, or more sales grunt, right? To get through it, so you don't ruin the conversion by them not doing what has worked in the past.
Well, like, I think when we sort of made some leaps and bounds probably a couple of years ago with our conversion rates, and it was like, holy smokes, got a lot of work to get through now. Like, I don't even know if installers. Like, it's a cool problem to have, but it's a problem nonetheless. And then, you know, you start pushing out lead times, and then you got to tell new clients that, oh, actually, it's not a lead time for our suppliers. We're now on our own lead times of like 8-10 weeks. And then like that starts blowing out past that, and we can't convert. So it is like, people definitely want that speed, and you can't be slower than your competitors. So so that's
hard to balance as well. The game is never finished, right?
No, you create unintended consequences, create new problems for sure.
And when you notice some of those people from 2 years ago getting quotes saying, oh, actually, we're going to do this now, did you go back through, or get the team to go back through any of those older quotes and have a look and see what else didn't potentially convert, and get back in touch with them?
Yeah, we probably use our MailChimp does really well in that space. And we can retarget as well through that. So that's probably like a way to do it broadly. Nice. And we'll have we use Pipedrive, so that's just a CRM program, and so you build it out yourself, and we've got like slow burns. So people that we will have conversations with that are like, oh, I'm thinking about it, and we'll date that. So we'll be like, right, we're going to come back in a year. So they might be like, give us a call in a year, or we might be like, no, we reckon that's gold at some point. So we'll make sure we check back in. So we do use Pipedrive a lot for that, and that's a really good visual way. Like, the sales reps can log in, they can see it. It's like, that's right. Or you're like, or sometimes you look and you're like, who the hell is that? That's 2 years ago. I was like, But you go back, we've got all our quoting software, and you can check back in. So that's sort of how we manage that for sure. But
honestly, I reckon that's probably something for a lot of business owners that won't be listening, that will be listening to this, but won't be doing that. It's such an easy thing to implement in your business, but it can have such a big impact, right? Because there's no way you're going to remember that person from 2 years, even a year ago. You know, but if you build a system to be able to do that, or just even track leads and where things are at, it's crazy how quickly, you know, months and weeks go by in a business, and you realize, oh shit, it's been 3 weeks since I followed that person up, or I didn't even follow them up. So having something like that in, like, you need those things to get past those $2 million, those $1 million in turnover, I think.
You need to systemize it, right? Like, so if you're going to get bigger, and I need to systemize it for myself. So I've got ADHD, like, trying to keep me on track. It's like, so like we use, Pipedrive, and I've used that really early, and it's probably was quite expensive to start with. But so like, it's basically what that means is we move like things along this system. So it goes quote delivered, and then there'll be like a red flag like in 3 weeks where you've got to call and check in and see if nothing's happened. So I think we do 2 weeks. I'll probably get this wrong. My sales reps tell me I've got different dates. But yeah, so we're like 2 weeks, and then they might move into slow burn, or if they haven't gone with us, we will know why. They're like, we've gone with a competitor because of price, or we've gone with a competitor because of product, or we're not going to hit this is way outside our ball range. So we're constantly tracking while we might lose jobs too, as accurate as we can. And that's probably just as important database as why you're winning them, if not more important. But yeah, that system and definitely that follow-up system is huge. Like it's talking about, you can sit there and go, oh, we've got no leads, and getting a lead is hard. Like that is really hard. Like getting a lead through, like say you go through Google and we might pay X amount, $100 to get a Google lead, and then we've got to get someone out and they've got to go do the quote, measure up, work out the product, sell that. That's expensive. But when you contact someone, you've already done all that work. And you're going back, you're like, well, actually, for one of my reps and me to pick up the phone and call, it costs bugger all. The hard work's been done. You don't leave it on the table. That's like people that are getting out and doing these quotes and they're not quoting. Like it's just crazy to me. I just can't get my head around it. Or quoting 2 weeks later. Like, yeah.
Man, I'd be like, if your conversion rate's so much higher with people who are friends and family, I'd be so tempted. You probably already do it, but to incentivize those past customers with something like really grunty, $500 voucher or something like that.
Yeah. So we've got like when our quotes go out, we've got like a few things. So like, can you leave a Google review? And we give you season tickets to the Tani Wha. And that's for positive or negative. Like just leave a review. We're not saying you have to give us 5 stars. We want your feedback, and then we and refer a friend or family, and we'll give you a $150 restaurant voucher to your choice again, which ties back to the restaurants.
Nice.
So we do get quite a bit through that.
Yeah.
But just looking, there's some like quite cool online ones coming out, which you like people can kind of get like a login. It's just whether you can get buy-in or not, but that's what we look at it recently. So then they can go upgrades, like refer one person, get, the restaurant voucher, refer to XYZ. So I was like, that would be quite cool. I don't know if it'll quite work, but like if we could get some buy-in in that space. And the oldies that have got time, they all want to show off their house. So it's like for us, like any trade, like you're like, people want to show it off.
And they love free shit.
Yeah. Love getting one back too if they're giving you money. They want that voucher.
The old Northland rugby union must be pretty happy with you as well. You must sign.
Oh yeah, mate, big Tunnies fan. Yeah. So try to send a few people through there.
Well, we had John Bell on the pod recently, and he, I think he sponsored the number 9 jersey for Northland from Cody Wealth.
Oh, good man.
KiwiSaver specialist. That was one of his business goals, is to, on his 5-year plan. I'm like, fuck, 5 years, mate. I'm like, why don't you just do it? I'm like, let's go. And so
good.
I think about 6 months later, he hit them up, and right out, he wanted to do some sponsorship. So
yeah, awesome.
Cool, mate. Well, to finish up, what does Shadeland look like in 12 months' time, do you think?
Yeah, I think we've been on I've been pretty growth has just been I've just been head down with growth. And so I'm actually off to Europe for a month in July, which is like my, that's to be the first real decent holiday I've had since we've gone. So
4 weeks in Amsterdam, are you saying?
Yeah, really cut loose. And, so no, it'll be good. But so it's been a little bit, we've had this restructure of the branch managers, which is a big shift for us. And it's a big shift for me to step back a little bit from the day to day. So we're refining that at the moment, getting that right and building those guys up. So 2 awesome branch managers that are going to do awesome, already doing awesome jobs. So really, I see myself in the next few months refining that and getting that working really well. The idea is that we get that modular idea working, and then we creep down to the big old bad smoke. So that'll be my focus in the next 12 months will be how we crack down here and keep it growing. So probably that question of how big and bad do we want to be, and making sure it's sustainable and stuff like that. But definitely that ain't slowing down the next 12 months. So yeah.
But if you've got Kirikiri and then Whangarei and then coming down into part of Auckland, you're covering you've got a good coverage of a really bulky part of the economy and the country and a lot of the population, right? So nice. Well, should I be scared to be one of your competitors in that area? Because you're a competitive man. But mate, appreciate you taking the time today to show us inside some of what you've got going on and what you've built. It's bloody impressive. I'm sure you'll continue to grow. If people want to find you or get in touch with you, then what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get in touch with Shadeland, the website's there. We've got socials. Jump on Instagram. Just search up Shadeland. You'll see what we're doing. You'll see some of the crew having a hard case time doing bits and pieces. But yeah, if people want to get in touch with me, my number's on the website, or hit us up through LinkedIn if anything personal or whatever.
And if anyone's watching from Northland and they have a mate who needs what you guys do, What can we do for them? A couple $100 restaurant
Yeah,
voucher, or
yeah, as long as it's a good restaurant in Northland. No, no, yeah, we got a $150 restaurant voucher for anyone with a referral for a job that goes ahead. So yeah,
brilliant.
or we'll get you season tickets to the Tunnies because that's always a good time.
There we go. Right. Well, let's see if we can take some vouchers off of Graeme. Right. Get in touch with Shadeland and see if we can help them out.